Hello and welcome. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about this new little 6-pan palette from Lisa Eldridge for her holiday collection in Vega. She came out in 5 colorways and I went for this one that's definitely kind of smoky and neutral. I opted for this one because out of all of the colorways, this is the one that I felt very confident that I would get use out of pretty much every color in it, whereas pretty much every other story was like, I don't think I would reach for that palette all the time because of this or that, slash if I did, I would only use like 2 to 4 shades constantly. And at the price point which these retail for, which is $68, that just didn't feel quite justifiable enough for me. The packaging of the product is pretty nice and I think it's a really good size. It's small enough but quite sturdy. It's much more lightweight than I expected. I thought this would be as like heavy as a paperweight, but I'm grateful that it's not. It's got like, I don't know, maybe it's like aluminum or something. Either way, I like this packaging. I think it's small enough and sturdy enough and still like not too heavy enough that it's basically perfect for traveling. These are adjustable where you can buy one of her colorways but then also buy refills of any of the single shadows that are found in any of the colorways and kind of mix and match as you desire. But you can't just buy an empty pan, and I think a lot of people would love to be able to kind of mix and match and curate their own ideal palette. That being said, I do think there is some value to seeing what Lisa has come up with in terms of how she wanted to create stories together. I think they're all very beautiful and special in their own ways. So with Vega, the 6 shades that we have here are quite neutral to cool. So starting from this shade, this is French Gray, which is a seamless matte. This is Smoke and Mirrors, another seamless matte. This shade is Moon Swirl, a metallic. This one is Turbulence, another seamless matte. Here is Supernova, which is a luminous shade. And then finally, here is Lamp Black, another seamless matte. And her formula is just so interesting. It's more special than I really ever expected. They are really dense and creamy to the touch when I swirl my brush or my finger in. Like, I feel like a lot of higher end shadows, or maybe even MAC shadows is a good example of a formula that feels really thin and hard packed into its pan. And then when you first touch it, it feels kind of dry to the finger, but because of that harder pack, it's really buildable. And these have both the quality of feeling buttery to the touch and creamy to the touch, but being thin and very buildable. And they have very, very little fallout, like the least amount of fallout that I've ever encountered, and that makes a pretty big difference to me. Fallout definitely bugs me because I do my eyes last. I often find myself veering away from working with certain really glimmery shadows and particularly darker shadows because I hate, they can, like, if it builds up too much, it gets really hard to clean and dust away. So I find myself being kind of averse to using really dark shadows too often, unless I'm like, I know that I really want to send it on a particularly smoky look ahead of time. And furthermore, my eyes get really irritated when I get like kick up bits of shadow getting into my eyes. So when I work with powderier shadows on my lower lash line or really, really close to my lash line, I find that I often get shadow in my eyes and then my eyes get red and itchy and like creepy looking. So for all of those reasons, fallout does bug me, and I really, really like how that doesn't really exist with this palette. First off, I want to show how this palette goes on, and I'm going to kind of break it down into 2 looks, which are like, one's more everyday and one is what I have on now, which I think for me is a bit more dramatic. First, I'll just show you how French Gray looks on my eyes and my complexion, and it's really like not very much. It is truly quite similar in depth, to my skin tone. It just adds a little bit of graziness. So I wanted to use this shade to kind of help sculpt and shape out things, but there's kind of not that much going on there. So I'm gonna take a smaller brush and dip into Turbulence and use this to kind of shape things out a bit. Man, what a nice neutral brown. Okay, and then I'm just gonna take Moon Swirl, our metallic shade, and kind of tap that all over the center of the eye. So buttery. Smear any leftovers just on the bottom of my eyelid. Then I'm gonna tap into French Gray with a fluffy brush and just kind of blend out at the edges a little bit. Supernova, and just pop that on the inner corners here. Okay, so I wanted to pause on the look here and just show what this would look like as a full face. I put on some mascara and then my Juicy Lasting Tint in Pomelo Skin, and I feel like right now what I have on is basically a face full of favorites that I'm very, very comfortable in. This is a kind of look and style that I have gone for many times, and like when I don't really feel like putting effort into thinking about what I want to wear, this is usually what comes up, and that's why I opted for Vega as my choice of palette to buy, because I knew that I would be able to get a lot of mileage in this sort of way just instantly off the bat when I saw all the colors. So essentially by just reaching into like Turbulence and the metallic Moon Swirl, we have like a really, really nice neutral yet defined eyeshadow look. And I will admit that I have many single shadows that fall into this sort of like neutral, slightly taupey, sheeny range that give this similar amount of ease of use. So I'm finding myself kind of comparing it right now. And what I love about Vega, or reaching for this, is how easy it is for me to add a little bit more definition using Turbulence. If I want, I can create a little bit more shapeliness. I can add a different color onto my bottom lash line. There's just a lot more options for nuance while still being very, very easy to reach for and use. I do still want to dive into trying out and seeing how Lamp Black and the Smoke and Mirrors shade perform on me. So let's get into that. I think what would be easiest is if I take the smaller brush and just start putting Smoke and Mirrors on. You know what, I'll start in the center-ish here, but I kind of want to really go in with this shade because I don't really have anything like this in my collection, and my complexion usually doesn't do really well with blue, so I really want to see how this turns out. Outer half of my lower lash line as well. Ooh, yeah, that looks cool. I like how it looks there. Yeah, blue's kind of weird for me. Okay, I'm gonna go back into Turbulence and build that up on the very outer edge. I think I want to try really packing French Gray on to the inner third of my eyelid. But the shade really doesn't feel like it does much on my complexion. I don't know. I'm gonna put Turbulence on the inner half of my lower lash line. Let's go in with Lamp Black, and I'm gonna tap in gently and carefully, and I'm just going to try and make like a little bit of a smudgy winged-ish
blend in with the rest of the look.
I really like this black. Oh man, so easy to use. Okay, I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush with a lamp black and just kind of bring that closer to my lash line. Because it's like so creamy, I feel like it's easy to essentially use as a liner. Though I generally really like the effect that you can get from using shadows as a liner, I often don't opt for it because I find that using really small dense brushes with powdery shadows usually results in a lot of kick up for me. But that was so easy. I have a tiny bit of fallout, you can barely even tell, and I think I can probably whisk that away pretty easily. Yeah, I was extremely gratuitous and heavy-handed, so I think that was pretty easily avoided on the other eye after I noticed. So I do quite like how this has come together. And then for fun, I want to put Supernova on like the center of my eyelid as a little top coat situation. Okay, and here's the look. And usually this kind of colorway and amount of drama is really hard for me to achieve without just using like an eyeliner. This colorway and this formula I'm very happy with. As it turns out, I thought that I would be less likely to use lamp black and get a lot of use out of the other shades, whereas now that I've tried it and felt how easy it is to use, especially in comparison to like basically any other black, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up reaching explicitly for this palette just to use lamp black as like a smoky shadow liner look, because I actually love that look, but like I said, I find that kind of hard to achieve personally, but this shadow makes it so easy and effortless, and it looks great, like exactly how I want like a smoky little winged liner to look. And conversely, I think the shade that I'm most disappointed in is French Gray, at least for me. It kind of looks like almost nothing on my skin tone. It's just very close to my skin tone, though like obviously quite gray. It's kind of useful for helping to blend out edges and clean things up, but the shadows blend themselves out like pretty nicely, so I'm not finding myself feeling like that's a step that's super necessary. But in a way, I'm kind of excited because maybe this gives space for me to pop the shadow out and replace it with something else. Again, kind of I don't like the idea of not using, like paying $68 and not getting great use of every shade in here. However, yeah, it's just too close to my skin tone. But every other shade I think like really holds its own weight. I think the slate and the black work perfectly together to create like an elegant smoky look. In general, this palette feels just so like ladylike. Not like I want to look old or anything, but I feel like it's got like super elegant, rich 40-year-old lady vibes, and but like super like a badass lady. So I'm a fan, and this kind of like smoky look I find honestly more of a pain in the ass than is often worth to go for, but this palette makes it really easy. I think there have been a lot of exciting eyeshadow releases, and I am just having a lot of fun with all the eyeshadow options I have. This one, super pretty, super effortless. I do have quite a few neutral leaning options, so I'm excited to see how it stacks up and how often I end up reaching for this. I find myself very impressed by the formula and excited about getting more use out of the black, not only along with this palette, but like in any other eyeshadow look going forward. Ah, man, if it was in stock, I would probably get Sorcery. Okay, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to when it comes to this palette Vega. I'm really excited. I think I'll get a lot of use out of this. I think that between the two looks that I've shown today, it's kind of covered a lot of what I expect to get out of this palette as far as looks. However, I'm really excited because I think that especially lamp black can pair with pretty much any eye look I could possibly want to create. So because of that, I think I'll reach for this pretty often, and I think that this is probably like almost a perfect travel palette for me. We'll see. Let me know if you picked up anything from this holiday collection, and I hope this video was helpful for you if you have this and want to see how it performs, or if you're thinking about picking this up. In general, if there is any colorway that really spoke to you, I kind of think it's worth trying because the formula is very special and highly performant, at least in my opinion. So, thanks for watching as always.